Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Mayday Network. I am Michelle Kinney. This is just a special report tonight. We wanted to broadcast and share with you the Artemis uh, feed tonight, and a historic thing that is happening. Um, and it hasn't happened in 54 years, which is just honestly insane to think about. So right now, 4 human beings are behind the moon. Um, their names are Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen, and they launched 5 days ago from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And tonight, they are farther from Earth than any person has ever been in the history of humankind. And in about 4 minutes, actually two now, we're going to lose them completely, lose contact, that is. The moon itself will physically block the radio signal between their capsule and the ground. No contact, no communication for about 40 minutes. We're going to have silence. And I just want everyone to know, if you don't know this already, maybe you do, that is completely normal. It is expected. It is planned for. It has happened on every single Apollo mission. Mission control prepares for it. The crew prepares for it. So when the signal drops, that is not a problem or an emergency. It just means that they are exactly where they are supposed to be. But let's back up, because that moment didn't come from just nowhere. It all started in 1961. A guy in a capsule so small, they joked, you didn't ride it, you wore it. And that was Alan Shepard. So 15 minutes in space, just proving that we could do it. And I just want to throw this up here while we're talking, because this is pretty remarkable what's happening in this moment. And it seems to be kind of going in and out the feed over here. Let's see. Let me see if they've got any sound coming. Hold on. Let's see. And please, wherever you are tonight, let us know where you are. I'd love to know. Let's see. Let me just see what's going on here. So you can see over here in the corner of the screen.
And we have confirmation of loss of signal of the Orion spacecraft as it flies behind the moon. We expect to regain communications with them in another approximately 40 minutes. This was expected, as their spacecraft is now out of direct line of sight with Earth and behind the moon. And this is a poignant moment, as it's the first time in over 50 years that we have humans completely unreachable by anyone else on Earth. No matter how distant or secluded, we could reach anyone living on Earth, but while the crew flies behind the moon, it's simply impossible to make contact with them. This is a live view inside the Science Evaluation Room here at Johnson Space Center and just down the hall from Mission Control. This team has been monitoring the flyby all day, as the team has continued capturing targets on the lunar surface. We even got to see this team in action as they were helping the astronauts identify some of the features they were seeing on the moon but not expecting. There will be a couple of milestones during this loss of signal. The first will be when the astronauts make their closest approach of the moon at MET 5 days, 25 minutes, and 34 seconds, when we expect they'll be 4,067 statute miles above the lunar surface. Their maximum Earth altitude will be reached just 2 minutes later, at 5 days, 27 minutes, and 39 seconds, when their altitude should be approximately 252,756 statute miles. Once those milestones are reached and we have confirmation, we will report the official numbers.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mute that for now. It says, Michelle, can you turn the lady up in volume? I will try. Unfortunately, that was as loud as it went, excuse me, through the feed. But I'm just going to read through the rest of this here that I wrote before I came on, that You know, on July 20th, 1969, I was not alive, but have seen the footage many a time that Neil Armstrong stepped foot on the moon for the very first time. And 12 Americans walked the lunar surface between 1969 and 1972. Then in December of 1972, Gene Cernan climbed back into his capsule, looked back at the surface one more time, and left. And nobody has been back until now. So this mission tonight is called the Artemis II, and the capsule that they're riding in is called Orion. The crew named it Integrity, and they launched on April 1st, which was about 6 days ago, 5 and change. And today, this afternoon at 1:56 p.m. Eastern, they broke the record. They were the farthest any human has ever been from Earth, ever in the history of humankind. And the previous record was set in 1970 by the crew of Apollo 13, which, as we know, had quite the emergency on board, and they never got to land because of an accident, an explosion that happened in the module, I believe. The mission where an oxygen tank exploded 200,000 miles from Earth, and 3 astronauts had to land on the moon and went home on emergency power. Terrifying. And that crew traveled 248,655 miles from Earth. That record stood for 56 years. And today, this crew has passed it and kept going. 252,760 miles from Earth, farther than anyone ever. And so just a couple minutes ago, we lost all contact. If you couldn't hear the person on the YouTube feed from NASA, we're going to lose contact with them for about 40 minutes. I believe they'll come back around 7:25 p.m., which we'll stay on, and we'll go through the whole thing. And once we have them back, it's going to be quite the sight. And so I'll stop talking, and we can just watch all of that together. But the thing that is really kind of amazing to me about the whole thing is that, and I talked about this on Saturday, if you were with us for Saturdays for Sanity, is that the photographs that the astronauts have taken from Artemis, from Orion, are so humbling, and they are really beautiful and haunting, because if you look at that blue marble Earth that we all live on, and you think about it, that every person you will ever know in your whole life, every person that you have known, will know, every war, every religion, every love story has ever happened, will happen on that blue marble. And what an incredible thing to think about. That despite all of the differences and all of the conflict here on this planet, this is the one thing that really brings us all together. So this is a pretty incredible evening, history that we're going to witness here together this evening. I'm looking here, it says, 7:25 is, or 7:03, no, it's 7:25 is when signal is restored. So I have some videos for all of us to watch together in the meantime. There's a few things that NASA has put out that I think are worth watching. And again, I'm just going to put this up here. If you see this here, 7:07, Artemis II reaches its farthest point from Earth. Orion will be at its farthest from Earth, is about 252,760 miles away. 7:25 p.m. Eastern will be the reacquisition of the signal. Mission control should reacquire signal with Artemis II then. Then at 8:35, Artemis II will see a solar eclipse. And we'll stay on until then, and I can just play this so we can all kind of be in the chat and react together and watch all of this history kind of happen. These things happen so rarely that, you know, it really is kind of an amazing thing to think about what Americans have accomplished, what is possible. And the first thing I'm going to show here is a short film, just a couple minutes, that NASA put together. That is narrated by William Shatner, the great William Shatner. I'm going to play this.
50 years ago, we pioneered a path to the moon. The trail we blazed cut through the fictions of science and showed us all what was possible.
Very pretty out here.
Today, our calling to explore is even greater. To go farther, we must be able to sustain missions of greater distance and duration. We must use the resources we find at our destinations. We must overcome radiation, isolation, gravity, and extreme environments like never before. These are the challenges we face to push the bounds of humanity. We're going to the moon to stay by 2024, and this is how.
This all starts with the ability to get larger, heavier payloads off-planet and beyond Earth's gravity.
For this, we designed an entirely new rocket.
The Space Launch System. SLS will be the most powerful rocket ever developed.
And with components in production
And more in testing?
This system is capable of being the catalyst for deep space missions
we need a capsule
that can support humans from launch
through deep space and return safely back to Earth.
For this, we've built Orion.
This is NASA's next-generation human space capsule.
Using data from lunar orbiters that continue to reveal the moon's hazards and resources.
We're currently developing an entirely new approach to landing and operating on the moon.
Using our commercial partners to deliver science instruments and robotics to the surface, we are paving the way for human missions in 2024.
Our charge is to go quickly and to stay, to press our collective efforts forward with a fervor that will see us return to the moon in a manner that is wholly different than 50 years ago.
We want lunar landers that are reusable.
That can land anywhere on the lunar surface. The simplest way to do so is to give them a platform in orbit around the moon from which to transition.
An orbiting platform to host deep space experiments and be a waypoint for human capsules. We call this lunar outpost Gateway.
The beauty of the Gateway is that it can be moved between orbits.
It will balance between the Earth and Moon's gravity.
In a position that is ideal for launching even deeper space missions.
In 2009, we learned that the moon contains millions of tons of water ice.
This ice can be extracted and purified for water. It can be separated in oxygen for breathing or hydrogen for rocket fuel.
The moon is quite uniquely suited
to prepare us and propel us to Mars and beyond.
This is what we're building.
This is what we're training for.
This we can replicate throughout the solar system.
This is the next chapter of human space exploration.
Humans are the most fragile element of this entire endeavor, and yet we go for humanity. We go to the moon and on to Mars to seek knowledge and understanding and to share it with all. We go knowing our efforts will create opportunities that cannot be foreseen. We go because we are destined to explore and see it with our own eyes. We turn towards the moon now, not as a conclusion, but as preparation, as a checkpoint toward all that lies beyond. Our greatest adventures remain ahead of us. We are going.
We're going.
We are going.
We are going. We're going.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I pulled some other stuff from NASA. They've produced a lot of really great video content for us, all of us that are interested in what's going on. This is about Artemis in the program. I'm going to play this now.
Good afternoon from the Space Coast of Florida, where 4 astronauts are about to suit up for NASA's boldest test flight in a generation.
Our goal is to pursue the secrets of the universe, to change the world in air and space.
We have a ton of people gathering around the world to watch this history-making moment.
This crew cohesion, we're at the point now where we are ready to go fly.
I've had shivers run up and down my spine a number of times.
This mission is an opportunity for our generation. It's about human history. It's the story of humanity.
The question isn't go or not go. It's are you going to lead or are you going to follow?
This crew could be the first humans to journey around the moon in more than half a century.
The Artemis II crew is go for launch. Full send.
Let's go.
3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Artemis and Artemis II remind us that our greatest chapters are yet to be written. Well done. Go Artemis II!
The point is the end game. The moon has now become the center, the focus of this mission.
Artemis II is the first step in a sustained presence off of planet Earth in deep space. And if we are successful in doing that, I think Artemis II becomes just that first little teeny tiny curve that we stepped up on this really long journey.
And this view on your screen, that is Earth in the center of your screen from the Orion spacecraft. Again, a camera mounted aboard the spacecraft's solar array wing, looking back at all of us.
Oops, my mic was muted. My bad. I was coughing. I didn't want to blast into your speakers. I wanted to address something here that was in the chat that someone brought up. Have you heard of the overview effect that can happen to astronauts when viewing the Earth? I had heard about that, and I just looked up the definition just to give everybody some information. It says here the overview effect is a profound cognitive shift reported by astronauts viewing Earth from space, characterized by an awe-inspiring sense of interconnectedness, planetary fragility, and the artificiality of human borders. It was coined by author Frank White in 1987, and this experience often shifts perspectives toward environmental stewardship and global unity. It's pretty amazing. I mean, I just can't imagine staring back at the Earth like that. I just can't. And here's some of the photographs, by the way. Let me just make this a little bit bigger here. There we go. This is a view from Earth taken by NASA astronaut and Artemis commander Reid Wiseman from the Orion spacecraft window after completing the translunar injection burn on April 2nd, 2026. NASA's Artemis II mission will take Wiseman, Glover, Koch, and Hansen on a 10-day journey, which we all know, to the moon and back. Here's another one, a view of Earth taken by Reid Wiseman from the Orion spacecraft as well, staring back at it's incredible to look back at ourselves like this. It almost doesn't seem real. And if you can look actually on the top right, sort of at the maybe 1 o'clock position at the top of the planet here, Earth, you can see a faint green along the horizon. And I believe that is the northern lights that you can see right there on the horizon, just from what I've read online. And just another photograph here. Here's the 4 astronauts. Excuse me. Jeremy Hansen, Reid Wiseman, Christina Koch, and Victor Glover. They were answering some questions from reporters, which was, incredible to think that like all of this is possible. And here's another one, just a view of the backlit Earth that's taken by Reid Wiseman as well from the Orion spacecraft after completing the translunar injection burn on April 2nd. Amazing. So if you're just joining us right now, we're in that 40-minute period when we're losing contact with the 4 astronauts on Artemis, on the Orion Artemis mission, because they go kind of behind the moon, and the moon itself blocks the signal, which is totally normal and has happened on every mission from Apollo until now. So totally normal. And we're waiting until 7:25 for them to come back, and then I will shut up and we can all watch together. But I think it's important we know who these people are these great Americans and one Canadian, I believe, that has spent their life in either service to the American military or, in exploration. I think that we should start with Reid Wiseman. He is the commander. He is a Navy test pilot from Baltimore. He's been to space before, 6 months on the International Space Station in 2014, but obviously nothing like this. Tonight, he is the oldest person to ever travel around the moon. He proposed today that a crater up there be named for his late wife, Carol, who passed away before she could see him do this. She passed away from cancer. So here is Reid Wiseman's video that was produced and published by
Moon, to me, it's the thing that connects me together with all the other humans in my life. I remember being a little kid lying in bed at night and just looking out at the moon in whatever phase it was in, and I was thinking, man, my friends that live like 20 miles away, they can probably look out and see that same exact moon. And then when I was in the Navy and I would look out at the moon and I'd be halfway around the planet, I would think, man, my brother can see that moon where he is and he's halfway around the planet from where I am. To me, it's a connection of life on Earth. We can all look up and see that moon, and it's always changing. The moon is never the same 2 days in a row. I love that. My name is Reid Wiseman. I'm the commander of NASA's Artemis II mission around the moon. I grew up in a little town just north of Baltimore, Maryland, about 20 miles north of the city. There was a National Guard base nearby my house, and there were A-10 aircraft that would fly over every now and then. I just would look up at them and be like, man, I want to be up there. I want to go do that. And then my brother went to the Naval Academy, and I would go every year and watch the Blue Angels fly during commencement. And that just started to grow and grow and grow. For a while, I wanted to join the Air Force, and then I realized Navy flies as well, and they fly from ships in the middle of the ocean. And that was it, like, done deal for me. That is exactly what I wanted to do for my career. Flying is freedom to me, especially when you're in a jet aircraft coming off of an aircraft carrier in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Nearest land is over 1,500 miles away. So when you come off of that aircraft carrier, you are truly just alone with yourself out there. It is a magical experience to be out there all by yourself in an aircraft over the Pacific. It's free. I think anybody who accomplishes something that they set their mind out to, there's no one thing that does it for them. It's a combination of everything. I mean, the way my parents raised me, the way my brother and I, the way our relationship developed over time, my friends, being in the marching band, going to college, setting my own course, learning how to live on my own, being mentored along the way, being, kept on the path to success, but being given the freedom to, make excursions and fail every now and then and regroup and carry on. I think all those things come together in the end to get you where you are. I've had to overcome, I'm a human being. I've had to overcome a lot of fears. I'm pretty scared of heights. I joked about that on the International Space Station, but it turns out I'm only scared like at the edge of a building. When you're up on the International Space Station, even though you're 250 miles up, I never had that feeling of falling or that I was, at risk up there. I just kind of loved the feeling of floating and looking down at Earth. There have been challenges all throughout my life. By far, the biggest challenge was losing my wife in 2020 to cancer and now raising two daughters who are grown up now, but that's been the biggest challenge by far I've ever had to face. It is not easy. Being an only parent, trying to work a full-time job, and raising two kids is something that I think about every single day. I'm very proud of the work I've done. I haven't always done it well, but I've always shown up and tried as hard as I possibly can.
Amazing. Let's look at Victor Glover next. Victor Glover is the pilot. He's a Navy captain from Pomona, California. In 2020, he was the first Black astronaut to live on the ISS for a long-duration mission. And tonight, he becomes the first person of color to travel around the moon in the history of spaceflight. So here is Victor Glover.
I do wonder what it's going to be like when we are really far from Earth and can see it. The sensation of being so far away from everything that you know. I had that sensation on the space station the first time I got to sit in the cupola for a really long time. So I can only imagine what that's going to be like from 200,000 plus miles away. My name is Victor Glover, and I'm the pilot for NASA's Artemis II mission around the moon. When I was in 4th grade, I was 10 years old, and that's when the Challenger accident happened. And it helped me understand how the general public felt about the astronaut corps. right? Like, these are the people that we want to be. And that just gave me an easy thing to strive toward. The biggest fear that I've had to overcome in my life is doubting myself. Going to college when no one in my family had gone to college was a huge risk. I had more confidence in my athletic ability than in my academic abilities. I could play football with those college students that I saw on TV. But my classmates that I saw in the lab and around the University Union, I didn't know if I had what they had. I think addressing that self-doubt was a part of, swinging for the fence and trying to go get an engineering degree, not just go to college, but get an engineering degree and then go do something challenging and technical like flying. Apollo is known for sending humans to the moon. Artemis has an opportunity to continue the Apollo story, but I actually think it's important for this story to stand on its own. Artemis is a new program, and we're trying to do new things. And it's great to compare and contrast. When you look at our spaceship, you can see parts that were designed, built, and integrated in another country. When you look at our crew, you see that our crew is international. There are also men and women. And I just think that comparing and contrasting makes the story even richer. The piloting role specifically, I will have an hour and a half or so where I get to fly the spacecraft by hand. We haven't flown that many spaceships. And so the ability to fly one actually in space on a test mission is just a really unique opportunity. I can't tell you how I'm going to feel when we fly by the moon and see the moon up close and the Earth from 250,000 miles away, but I don't use the word excited because I'm focused. What we do, this is very serious and it's very risky, and we are all intimately familiar with that risk. And so if we go out there and we're successful and we can pass that baton on to Artemis II, that's something to really be excited about.
So that was Victor Glover. It's funny because the chat was saying, what a nice looking man he is. It's funny because my social feeds have kind of been saying the same thing. Protect this man at all costs. So it's just funny. And he is, and what an incredible man. All of these people, 3 men and 1 woman. So let's move on here. Let's see. Christina Koch is a mission specialist, electrical engineer. She already holds the record for the longest single space flight by a woman, 328 days on the International Space Station. She was part of the first all-female spacewalk, and tonight she becomes the first woman to travel around the moon. So here is a short video on Christina Koch.
I tell a story, which is one that my dad told me before the Apollo missions when he was just a very little boy. He was looking up at the moon with his mom, and his mom said to him, "Don't worry, Ronnie, we'll never get there." Fast forward maybe 70 years later, it's his daughter that's actually going there. And I think that long arc is something that we can all learn from. The idea that the seemingly impossible becomes possible if you just believe in it and are willing to work hard and come together to achieve it. My name is Christina Koch, and I'm a mission specialist for NASA's Artemis II mission around the moon. When I look back at my dreams as a kid, I definitely never thought I would actually get here. I was very pragmatic. Even though I'm a dreamer, I knew that the odds were way against me again, so I might as well do something I'm loving in the meantime. I definitely loved science and math in school and, did pretty well in those things, but I also loved being active. I was always outside. I loved things that made me feel small. I loved looking at the night sky, oftentimes between the pine tree branches, or I loved the ocean. North Carolina also has mountains, and when we go there, I just loved the vastness of all of those things. I loved how they made me feel and what they made me think about, and the vastness of the universe and how much out there was to learn. I'm drawn to exploring. I'm drawn to challenges that involve both mental and physical, and I'd much rather be solving problems wearing a whole lot of equipment and in a harsh environment, and that's just something I've carried with me ever since I was a kid. Thinking about the fears or challenges that I've had to overcome, there are just so many. I mean, basically, it's just been, that has been the journey. I always say to people, do what scares you, and that means I have to follow my own advice. So doing what scares me meant getting on a plane and going to the Antarctic, getting on a plane and going to study abroad in Ghana. applying to become an astronaut, opening the EVA hatch in the airlock and going out of it into the darkness, strapping myself onto a rocket. And so for me, I think that no matter what the challenge, recognizing that if people believe in you and you believe they believe in you, the challenges seem always a little bit easier. To me, the moon, it represents history. It is a witness plate. Everything that's ever happened to the moon is still written on the moon. Every single person has looked at the moon their entire lives. We see the same moon. That's something really special. It's just the epitome of a symbol of something that's in each of our hearts, but that's also represents exploration and reaching.
All right. I just want to see, MJ, you just wrote in the chat that they pushed the reconnection with the signal back a little bit. I'm trying to find online where that update is. Not to say that you're making it. I want to see it so I can put it up on screen. So if you see that anywhere, please let me know. And in the meantime, let's play the last video here from the fourth astronaut, Jeremy Hansen. He is the other mission specialist. He's not American. He is Canadian. He is the colonel in the Royal Canadian Air Force, a fighter pilot, and tonight he becomes the first non-American in the entire history of human spaceflight to venture beyond Earth's orbit. This is also his first time in space. It's his first mission, and it is this one, which is pretty incredible. So here is, let's see, video on Jeremy Hansen.
I have this very distinct memory of seeing an image of an astronaut standing on the moon. It's burnt in my brain because I went back to it so many times in my childhood, and I would look at that image, and I know it had a huge impact on me that humans had walked on the moon. My name is Colonel Jeremy Hansen, an astronaut with the Canadian Space Agency, and I'm a mission specialist on NASA's Artemis II mission around the moon. My elementary school years, I grew up on a farm outside of London, Ontario. I spent as much time as I could with my dad on the farm. I learned the value of hard work, for example. If I wanted to go to work with Dad, it was going to be a long day, and I was going to have to not complain, or I wasn't going to get to go the next day. I had a treehouse. I had a vivid imagination. And I changed my treehouse into a spaceship. I made all these dials and controls. I had circuit breakers for switches that I found in the barn. And I was exploring space in my imagination. The most important thing I did to get to where I wanted to go in life, which was flying fighter jets and eventually becoming an astronaut, is I shared those desires with other people. And it turns out, just like you don't go to the moon on your own, if you could, I would have done it a long time ago in my treehouse as a kid. You have to go as a team. I think the biggest impediment to achieving my goals was, of course, myself. And I think that's a common human experience. There are many times where just little things would get in my way, and my immediate interpretation of that was, well, now that goal's out the window. You know, people must have lifted me back up, and somewhere in the back of my head, that persistence came through. And I think that's a common human experience, to doubt ourselves. I've come to this, I guess, realization that I believe that we all have gifts to contribute, and the goal is to figure out how to use your energy towards adding positively to humanity's existence on this planet. But I love it when humanity sets big goals, like sending humans to the surface of the moon with an eye to eventually going to Mars, because when we do that, we can bring together genius from not just even in one country, but around the world. I've also learned from my indigenous mentors that they refer to the moon as Grandmother Moon. So you've probably heard of Mother Earth. They use Grandmother Moon because Grandmother Moon is responsible for the water in their community, just like the moon moves the water around the planet, affects the tides. And I think that's a really beautiful thing for us as we go back to the moon, to think about all the different cultures around the world and how they view the moon differently. And that's really neat because we all share that same moon in the night sky.
So that's it. That's the four astronauts who are on Orion for the Artemis II mission. Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen. And so before I play another video here, and MJ, again, yes, it was about 40 minutes that it's supposed to be from beginning of the loss of contact to regaining contact with Orion. If somebody that's watching it, that because I don't have my TVs in the other room, I believe it still should be 7:25, and we'll go back and check at that time. But before then, I want to bring up this guy here. His name is Jim Lovell. You may recognize him or know his name. He was the commander of Apollo 8, the first mission to orbit the moon, and of Apollo 13. And he was, if you saw the film Apollo 13 back in the 90s, played by Tom Hanks, and whose genius and leadership was able to get that Apollo 13 back to Earth safely. And the mission whose distance record this crew is breaking this afternoon. He passed away last August, and so he never got to see Artemis II launch, but he knew that they were going to go. And so he recorded this in 2025 at the age of 97. And this crew woke up this morning to this message.
This is Apollo astronaut Jim Lovell. Welcome to my old neighborhood. When Frank Borman and Bill Anders and I orbited the moon on Apollo 8, we got humanity's first up-close look at the moon and got a view of the home planet that inspired and united people around the world. I'm proud to pass that torch on to you as you swing around the moon and lay the groundwork for missions to Mars for the benefit of all. It's a historic day, and I know how busy you'll be, but don't forget to enjoy the view. So, Reid and Victor and Christina and Jeremy and all the great teams supporting you, good luck and Godspeed from all of us here on the good earth.
That was an awesome message from Jim Lovell, and very cool to hear him welcome us to the neighborhood. It's going to be a great day. Thank you.
Concur, Reid. Yeah, I know it gave me chills. Definitely one of my heroes.
Amazing. And at the age of 97 is maybe a little bit difficult to, excuse me, to make out exactly what he said. But he says, hello, Artemis II. This is Apollo astronaut Jim Lovell. Welcome to my old neighborhood. When Frank Borman, Bill Anders, and I orbited the moon on Apollo 8, we got humanity's first up-close look at the moon and got a view of the home planet that inspired and united people around the world. I'm proud to pass that torch on to you as you swing around the moon and lay the groundwork for missions to Mars for the benefit of all. It's a historic day, and I know how busy you'll be, but don't forget to enjoy the view. So Reid, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, and all of the great teams supporting you, good luck and Godspeed from all those here on the good earth. I mean, doesn't get much better than that. So the last thing I'll play here before we turn it back over to the NASA feed, I would love to just play something from the first moon landing. It is part of the broadcast from July 20th, 1969. The whole thing is obviously much longer, but I just wanted to play a couple minutes of this to be reminded of how in that moment, even the most trusted man in America who had risked his life, World War II and had covered so many stories, watched this and was without words.
Stick forward. 60 seconds. Lights on. Six. Down 2.5. Forward. Forward. Good. 40 feet down 2.5. Picking up some dust. 30 feet, 2.5 down. Straight shadow. 4 forward. 4 forward. Drift into the right a little. 20, down 1/2. 30 seconds forward. Good. Okay. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. ACA at a descent. Mode control both auto, descent engine command override off. Engine arm off.
We're home.
413 is in.
Man on the moon.
We copy you down, Eagle. Houston,
Oh, jeez.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
Ooh. Oh, boy.
Thank you. You're looking good here.
Boy.
Okay, we're going to be busy for a minute. After I'm on, take care of the descent. I'll get the stuff prepared.
Wally, say something. I'm speechless.
I'm just trying to hold on to my breath. That is really something.
Very smooth touchdown.
Kind of nice to be aboard on this one, isn't it?
You know, we've been wondering what this guy Armstrong or Aldrin would say. He stepped foot on the moon, which comes a little bit later now. And just to hear him do it, we're left here absolutely with dry mouths and speechless.
Okay, it looks like we're bending the oxidizer now. Roger, Eagle, and you are safe for T1. Over. Eagle, you are safe for T1. Roger. And we Sam safe for T1. Roger, and we see you venting the ox. Roger.
It's a great simulation of what you can see there, if you could see it.
That little fly speck is supposed to be a limb.
Gee, they must be in a perfect...
You know, it's funny, too.
Copy,
This,
now 60, now 43. Over. Roger, we have it. Yes, sir, Reed Columbia. Roger, we ring you 5 by Columbia. He has landed Tranquility Base. Eagle is at Tranquility, over.
It's interesting that they're referring to it as Tranquility Base.
Well, good show.
That was a confirmation to Columbia.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So before I turn this back over, there's some people who were asking who was filming that. So I believe CBS did a simulation for be able to kind of see what would be happening. There is, eventually some footage of them on the moon, but it's in black and white, and I believe it's, it's not to the quality of what you just saw. So let me see here. Let me put this back on here. Let's see. Let's share here. And let me see if there's any sound here. Doesn't seem to be any sound from this broadcast. Let's see. Someone said it's AI, in other words, disappointed. Yeah, well, it's not AI. I mean, they built a set, I believe, it's a simulation to be able to show people exactly what would be happening. If you can go into, there's a documentary of Apollo 11. Definitely go watch it. It's remastered films. It's incredible. Incredible.
We're in the Artemis Mission Control Room at Johnson Space Center, getting our preliminary contact with Orion. That acquisition of signal coming after a 40-minute loss of signal, during which the crew was behind the moon, out of contact with anyone on Earth.
I know it might be quiet for people to hear, but this is the live feed from NASA. And I believe what we're about to see is them coming back around after losing the signal, and we'll be able to see what they see. And really, this is kind of a once in a lifetime thing that
We
we're
are
going to
getting
be.
our first views from Orion after the loss of signal. Orion has come back around the other side of the moon, and that little crescent that you see is Earth, over 252,000 miles away. With this transit complete, Lunar Flyby continues, but Orion has also technically begun its journey home. Right now, the crew are getting a few moments to enjoy and take photos of Earthrise for themselves, and we expect to contact them shortly. But we do have good signal coming from Orion.
Now, I'll try to shut up here as much as possible, but I understand that the volume probably from me speaking and the volume that's coming in through the feed may be at different volumes. So once I shut up, you might want to turn up your volume on your TV, your phone, or whatever speaker you're listening to higher so that you'll be able to get a better sound. Here we go.
This view from inside the Orion spacecraft, all 4 astronauts now back on the other side of the moon and in contact with us on Earth. Their tasks for Lunar Flyby did not stop as they went behind the moon and out of contact with us. We anticipate during that time they were attempting to image some impact flashes, short-lived flashes on the lunar surface, which would be caused by impact bombardment and potentially even lofted lunar dust. Right now, of course, they are getting pictures of Earthrise. After this target, they will get a short observation break. It's about an hour long, actually.
Houston, integrity, comm check.
Integrity, we have you loud and clear. Tell me.
Houston, we have you the same, and it is so great to hear from Earth again. To Asia, Africa, and Oceania, we are looking back at you. We hear you can look up and see the moon right now. We see you too. When we burned this burn towards the moon, I said that we do not leave Earth, but we choose it. And that is true. We will explore, we will build ships, we will visit again. We will construct science outposts, we will drive rovers, we will do radio astronomy, we will found companies, we will bolster industry, we will inspire. But ultimately, we will always choose Earth. We will always choose each other.
Integrity from Earth, our single system, fragile and interconnected. We copy. Those of us that can are looking back.
We are happy to say we copy.
Those first communications back with the astronauts aboard Orion. Christina Koch calling back to what she said just before translunar injection burn, that with this burn, we do not leave Earth, we choose it. The translunar injection burn served as not only what put them on this trajectory to fly around the moon, but what also committed them to splashing down in the Pacific Ocean on flight day 10. At this time, the crew is entering an observation break. We expect this to last about an hour, and it's probably a welcomed break following their very, very busy day taking pictures, making annotations, making audio recordings, and communicating all of the wonderful things that they are seeing on the moon. This observation break is also partially due to the fact that we will be entering an eclipse later. This will be the first solar eclipse that humans have seen from the moon. The astronauts will need to wear eclipse glasses for the first 2 minutes until the sun is completely covered by the moon, and then they have additional targets that the science team is hoping that they will photograph. We will have communications with them during that eclipse timeframe. Because of that eclipse, Orion's attitude must be changed right now so that its solar arrays are in the sun. This will help it charge the batteries needed to power it through that eclipse timeframe. This view on your screen is a visualization. The spacecraft now 4,224 miles away from the moon, and that number will now continue to grow, while the number of distance from Earth, 252,699 miles, will continue to shrink all the way until our crew is back home.
So I don't want to talk over any of this broadcast, but on the bottom right of the screen, you can see how many miles to the moon and from Earth. Right now, it looks like from Earth, they are 252,697 miles. That is more distance than I can possibly wrap my head around. Sort of terrifying to think
Again,
about.
we are MET, mission elapsed time, 5 days and 58 minutes since the launch of Artemis II. We have reestablished communications with the crew and the Orion spacecraft, now entering a little bit of a break while they are out of visibility, or the moon is out of their visibility. The spacecraft will be reoriented to view the moon ahead of an upcoming eclipse. This current attitude maneuver helps charge the solar arrays and batteries aboard Orion that will power them through the eclipse.
So they launched on April 1st at 6:35 p.m. Eastern. And their splashdown will be on Friday, this coming Friday, April 10th.
Integrity, Houston. In mission control, all of your flight controllers and your flight director have flipped their Artemis II patches around. We are earthbound and ready to bring you home.
So just to complete that thought, they're going to be splashing down Friday, April 10th at approximately 8:07 p.m. Eastern. And they'll be splashing down in the Pacific Ocean off the coast. So that splashdown will be at 8:07 p.m. Eastern this Friday, April 10th, in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of San Diego. And they will be pulled out by a helicopter and taken to the USS John P. Murtha. So I'd assume that will be also, there'll be a live feed of that as well. And happy early birthday to MJ, whose birthday is Saturday. Happy early birthday. And you're right, Heidi. This should give us hope. And I do know that there's probably some tech bro-y sort of element to some of this. Why we're returning to the moon, why we're doing this mission. But I refuse to be cynical about this. I refuse, because this is a miraculous thing that the United States was able to achieve. And I wish Julie was here because her grandfather actually worked on Sputnik. And I'm wondering if she has any stories from him from that time when he was working on that. That would be really interesting to hear. But she is helping her son with his Latin homework right now.
A very special moment just now in mission control ahead of the crew's flight to Kennedy Space Center, and during one of their last sims or simulations here, they visited the mission control team in Artemis Mission Control in Houston and brought us each a patch. Everyone in the flight control room has had these on their signifiers at their console. On one side of the patch that you've probably seen is the moon with the Earth behind it. Now that we've passed behind the moon and we are returning home, the flight control team has instructed everyone in the room to switch their patch around so that the Earth is closer and the moon is behind us. We are really looking forward to seeing the Artemis II crew. And the Capcom, Jenny Gibbons, did call that update up to the crew that the flight control team here has turned their patches around, as was instructed by the crew during that last sim. And we are counting down the days until they get home. They are now 5 days, 1 hour, and 3 minutes mission elapsed time into the Artemis II mission.
And to respond to Tree Me Green 714 here in the chat, that NASA is the last thing that still feels American, what we were before this regime. I totally agree. It feels really hopeful in a way, in a nostalgic kind of way. And it's another reason why I don't know about you, but I look at Senator Mark Kelly kind of through that lens of being an astronaut is kind of like one of the greatest things that you could be and do in this country in the last 60, 70 years. And like I said before, I refuse to be cynical about that. And John Donahue saying people might say the same about the Hubble and James Webb Space telescopes, which are marvels. I mean, honestly, the James Webb telescope, the first photographs to come out of that, it's like a time machine. Kind of can't believe your eyes, knowing what you're looking at. You're seeing the birth of the universe, essentially. It's amazing. It's amazing what government can be capable of when we really put our minds to it, and our resources and our money.
Joining me here in the room, Artemis Mission Control, I have Angela Garcia, Artemis II Science Officer. Thanks for being here, Angela.
It is an honor to be here. What a day. Everyone's been buzzing. I can't contain myself. So it's been a really awesome day.
So you're sitting on console at the science console now. Have you been in the SIR earlier today?
There's a lot going on. So I went here first, then I'm going to go there after.
All right, Integrity, we hear you. That was a little clipped, but I think we have a better link now. We experienced some blockage from a solar array. We moved it, and we are in bias tail to sun.
Okay, Houston, you're coming in loud and clear, and copy, we're in bias tail to sun now.
Affirm and Integrity, just so you know, we did not hear your response once we flipped our patches. Jeremy, we heard you call down, but you were clipped, and then we briefly lost comm. Glad we're back.
Okay, copy that. We were just excited that we got to share in that you, the MER, and Mission Control flipped your patches around, and that side of the patch is getting to see the light of day. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Our pleasure.
Okay, Angela, so can you tell me a little bit about your role supporting Artemis II and the science preparation for the mission?
Yes, so I'm one of the 3 science officers. So Kelsey's been on console all day. I'll take over kind of closer to the end of the day. And then Trevor Graff is on the planning shift. And so it's the 3 of us in this 24-hour cycle supporting the mission. And so the science officer console is a brand new console to mission control. And it's not every day that you get a new discipline incorporated into mission control. So it's been such a significant milestone for us. And it's just a testament to like the commitment that the Flight Operations Directorate and NASA have, that they're going to be integrating science and maximizing science throughout Artemis. So it's really exciting. And then the science preparation. So I'm on the operations team, but I'm also on the training team. So all the incredible training and shout outs that you've gotten today, it warms my heart. It warms everybody's heart in the science evaluation room. I promise you that. But so all the classroom training, the field training, the mission simulations, right? We were part of all of it. And, that is what we did to get the crew to be, they are a part of the science team, and they are the forefront, that nice edge. And they're just been doing such a great job today.
I know. I imagine that you have to be pretty proud of them. Their reports have been fantastic. So I would like to know a little bit about how you have developed procedures for this crew. What kind of science activities are they carrying out inside the spacecraft?
Yeah, so the procedure development has been a unique challenge. I would say the exploration science that we're doing is inherently pretty flexible, and operations is, I'd say, inherently has more structure and rigidity. And so to marry the two and to operationalize the science that we want to get done has been a challenge. But I think we've been able to go through these processes and create good products at the end and have a good plan. And yeah, it's been really great. What was the second part of your question?
Just what kind of these science activities that they're performing, which of those have you really had a hand in?
Yeah, so a lot of the procedures help organize what the crew is doing in the cabin. And I know we've talked a lot about, what they've been doing, and they've been doing a lot, and it's been a little dark, so I can re-explain what some of those things that they're doing. So the observation blocks are about an hour long, and the crew is organized, the 4 crew members are organized into 2 pairs of 2, the window team and the cabin team. And the lunar targeting package that you've been showing up, and that the crew have on their handheld tablets, is really the instructions for the window team. So the window team, the 2 crew members are looking out the window. One has the camera with the long lens, one has, they're just looking out the window with their unaided eye, and they're taking these detailed observations. And then halfway in that observation block, they do the window team position swap. So that's what Capcom's been calling out, and they'll switch positions. So each crew member has a chance to have that long lens. And then that's just what the window team is doing. There's also the cabin team, where they also have duties that they're doing. We're asking a lot of the crew in this time. And then the cabin team, they have the interior camera, and they're taking images inside the cabin. They're also supporting the window team where, you've heard some call outs where looking out at the bright moon and then looking inside the dark cabin and looking at their LED screen is a lot. So the cabin team is also helping support, target, and guide the window team into specific targets on their plan. They're also helping call out these science situational reps. So they're looking out a different window and listening in to what the crew who are really down and in on the science on the window team are doing, and they're giving us insight. And those recordings that the window team is doing are going to be uplinked or downlinked overnight, and we're going to be able to chew on that data. But yeah, they're helping. They're doing a lot. And so making sure we have a plan that's flexible, but also make sure that we check off all those boxes was really important.
So tell me a little bit more. You talked earlier about the analogs that the crew has done. What kind of analogs or environments were really useful for this?
Yeah, so for procedure development, right, you have so many different environments that you can do. You have classroom, like we said, you have the Orion mock-up, you have simulations, and at least for developing the plan, we kind of did it in a tiered approach because each of those different analog environments helps us answer a slightly different question and has a little bit of a higher fidelity. So we would start with the classroom. So we would get we would just get into a classroom, we would put all the hardware on the table, and then we'd almost role play of like, you be Victor, you be Reid, you be Jeremy, and I'll be Christina, and like, let's just do the plan, how we think we should do it, write that down, and then just keep iterating on that, and then
Integrity Houston for a tag up pre-forward link LOS in place of the Flight Director Conference.
Okay, Jenny, we're ready.
All right, crew, I'm going to roll through a couple of topics here. The first two are for timeline. First of all, Reid for your toilet maintenance. It is a shortened toilet maintenance where you do not have to do the oxone changeout. That portion of the procedure is canceled. Victor, you have an HHP stop activity on your timeline. We need you to perform that as scheduled for bandwidth reasons. For your next portion of the flyby, in particular the eclipse, we want to remind you that you can take off the eclipse glasses when the sun sets and you are simply looking at the corona. And then finally, for the D5 with the long or zoom lens, which is set for solar corona, we want to remind you that when you are capturing Earth shine, you will likely have to adjust the exposure. That's all I have for you. Let me know if you have anything for us.
Okay, Houston, we copy all. Thanks for those words, Jenny.
All right, just a quick call up to the crew ahead of a forward link LOS, meaning that we won't be communicating with them, but we will be receiving their communications and data during that time frame. So Angela, we were talking about analog environments. You were telling me about the classroom and getting in there and pretending who's Victor, who's Reid. Tell me more about this.
Yeah, it works pretty well. So you're gonna do the plan how you expect it to be, and then once we finalize that plan, we'll give it to a completely new group of people and have them practice it, and then they'll be like, these steps don't make sense, and we'll reiterate on it over and over. Then we'll take it to a higher fidelity environment like the Orion mockup, and we'll do the same thing because that volume is smaller, the window placement, their seating, what things have we forgotten with this addition of this environment. And then once we reiterate on that, we'll take it, then we'll give it to the crew and have them execute off of it during mission simulations. That's the highest fidelity that we can do before we send it to space. So this is the first time we've had to do this because we're a brand new console, and it just sparks so many neurons of like, how are we going to do this for surface missions and integrate this in so many different ways. So excited to have kicked off this process, but there's so much more to come.
Fascinating. And I think it was really well thought out too, because each crew member gets an opportunity to do each task. And so you're getting different perspectives and different insights from each crew member, maybe even about the same target, but something that one person sees could be completely different than something another person notices. So we also know that Artemis II has traveled. They're now on their way home, but they traveled farther from the moon than the Apollo missions did. So what makes that vantage point scientifically interesting?
Yeah, observations are so fundamental in the scientific toolkit, particularly observations from different perspectives, different scales, and with different techniques. And so for this, so we really tried to make the plan to optimize those. There's pros and cons for all those things for this mission. So we really just focused the plan to have all those pros. So in terms of scale, this zoomed out scale, you can learn different things. This zoomed or this different perspective. So their perspective, as Kelsey talked about, photometry around when they orbit the moon. And then also just their different the different things they're able to observe. So yeah, let me talk a little bit about scale, because I think observations at different scales, you can gain a lot of different information. So like, for example, if you were an astronaut on the surface looking at a rock and you describe at this micro scale. So in training, we kind of talk about observations from micro to macro, or from outcrop to orbit. So looking at, a rock.
So I'm going to take that feed off. There seems to be, let's see, another feed here from NASA. It's live views from Orion. So let's take a look at that. Let me see here. Let's take a look at this, see what this is. Doesn't seem to be any sound. But it is live, and it says this is NASA's Artemis II live views from Orion. You can hear my cat meowing at me in the background.
All right, last one.
My husband's teaching a backgammon lesson in the other room. Pretty amazing. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we can find here. Let me see. I'm just going to scoot around YouTube here right now. I'll just put this up so you guys can see what I'm looking at. So that was Artemis live views from Orion. Got lots of people doing lots of different feeds here. This looks like, let's see, Spaceflight Now, CBS News. Let's take a look.
Integrity Houston, you ready for the event?
I don't know that that's live. Let me see. This seems to be live. Everyone's saying, I love that your cat is commenting. He can't help himself. Where are you? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. All right. This is Sterling. He's very chatty. This is Sterling. Okay. We're going to show everybody your Easter bow tie. Yes. Yes. Okay. This is Sterling. He's got lots of things to say. So I'm just waiting here to see if there's going to be any more updates. It looks like, let's see. 8:35 p.m. The astronauts will see the moon block the sun in a total solar eclipse. It will last 53 minutes. They may also, oh my God, they may also observe Mars, Mercury, Venus, and Saturn. 9:20 p.m. Eastern, the flyby observing period ends. The crew begins sending some imagery to Earth. So for sure, I will come back on tomorrow and we can, oh my Lord, this cat. Come on, get out. We will, go. Thank you. For sure, we'll come back tomorrow and we will take a look at that. We can go through those photographs because I would assume they're going to be magnificent. And yes, the NCAA men's final is tonight. My husband did go to the University of Michigan for law school, so we will be rooting for Michigan this evening. Go Blue. We're gonna hope for a win there. So I mean, I don't know. I'm happy to stay on if you guys want to wait until 8:30. Let me see. Will there be a splashdown show? Are you asking for myself or for online? I'm happy to come on and do a live on Friday and do that. I think that would be really fun for all of us to watch together. I'd be happy to do that. Let's see. Just seeing what else we got going on here. See if there's any more feeds. I'm always okay with the coughing until I start talking. And then I'm cough-a-rama. Let's see. Heidi, yes, Tuxedo Cat's very smart and very chatty. The chattiest. Splashdown live show, please. Okay, sure. Let me see. When was that again? That is going to be, let's see. What time was that going to be? Let's see. When is Splashdown? That is Friday. I don't remember exactly the time. Let me just look this up. 8:07 Eastern. So yes, I'd be happy to do that. Let's do that. That'll be fun. Can we process the horrors of the day? Oh, it's this is such a wonderful thing that we're witnessing here together as not just Americans, because there are people tuning in from all over the world, but as citizens of Earth. And, unfortunately, the things that the United States does, whether they be good or bad, affects everyone. And today was no exception to that. The horrors of Donald Trump. Excuse me. It's hard to know where to begin. Some of the things that he said today were so horrible. They kind of deserve their own, how do I say? I don't want to say show, but like they deserve their own kind of block of time. And I'd be glad to do that. I'll see if Julie's around maybe later tonight, or first thing tomorrow, we can do that. And not just the things that he said at the Easter roll, which were awful, but also the things he said in the briefing room as well, using the R word more than once to describe Joe Biden. He also said that he has great poll numbers in Venezuela, that he could be elected there, and that he would learn to speak Spanish. He said all kinds of crazy stuff. And beyond just like our dislike and hatred, if you will, of Donald Trump, I think that we can all just kind of objectively say the man is losing his mind. So, it's scary. And he's saying basically now also a ceasefire is not enough. And I think he's just really looking for an excuse.
We're live in Artemis Mission Control at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. This a live view from the Orion spacecraft with our Artemis II crew inside. That's Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen. We are still live for our lunar flyby coverage. The crew is in a short break while the spacecraft is pivoted away from the moon. We are going to be going into a solar eclipse. This is the first time anyone has ever seen a solar eclipse from the moon. So it's going to be a unique vantage point for our crew. But ahead of heading into that solar eclipse, we need to charge the batteries on the Orion spacecraft. Therefore, we have positioned the solar arrays into the sunlight to allow time for those batteries to charge. We will get back pointed at the moon just in time for that solar eclipse. We are also in a forward link LOS. What that means is essentially we cannot send calls or commands to the crew right now from the ground. However, we clearly get all of their data and communications. The spacecraft is now 4,632 miles away from the moon, and that number will only continue to grow as the distance from Earth shrinks, now 252,523 miles away. Our closest approach to the moon today was approximately 4,067 statute miles in altitude. Our maximum distance from the Earth is suspected to be 252,756 statute miles. Both of those moments came while Orion was flying in their loss of signal time frame behind the moon. The crew also set that new record today, beating the Apollo 13 record of distance from Earth. This is an animation or a visualization that you can track anytime, day or night, by visiting nasa.gov/track Artemis. This shows you how the spacecraft is positioned as well as their distance and velocity, now traveling 930 miles per hour.
I'll just try to hop in while
During this break in their time today, the crew is working on a couple of other tasks. Some of those include their National Geographic timeline test. National Geographic was selected through a competitive process by NASA to help tell the story of Artemis II. So you've seen the crew with some GoPros inside the cabin, taking videos and pictures, and with other cameras as well. National Geographic plans to leverage its portfolio of media assets, including magazines, social and digital content, and television programming for engagement opportunities. Throughout the flight, the crew has been timelined a little bit each day to film from a shot list provided by National Geographic, and that includes their morning routine, talking with their families, exercising, and just their overall thoughts about the mission. And I cannot wait to see that footage.
I feel like as soon as I start talking, they're gonna start talking again. But again, I'm happy to stay on here until the eclipse, and then I'll skedaddle. So if you guys have any questions for me while we're here, I'm happy to answer them. If they have anything to do with this, I absolutely have zero expertise in space travel. But if you have any questions about anything else, happy to answer them. Someone, I can't remember who it was. Somebody said something about Ursa Major. Who was it? Rosie. Ursa Major, Ursa Minor. I did know that. It's Ursa is bear, and Urso is bear in Italian. I did know that. That's my husband's last name. We don't share a last name, but
reporting that the spacecraft is looking good and that the power aboard is good as well, all setting us up in a proper position before eclipse.
I keep telling Joe, because he teaches backgammon in addition to competing and whatnot, and I keep telling him to start a Substack, and I want him to call it Backgammon by the Bear. I just think that'd be funny. So I don't think there's any backgammon people on Substack. I think that he would be the first one. I think he should do it. Just give pointers to people, because it does kind of seem like a game that's starting to make its way back into the into popularity. Funny enough, we saw Jack Schlossberg the other day. He was at some backgammon event. We weren't there, but saw the coverage of it. and he likes to play backgammon. So actually, we're going to an event next week with Jack Schlossberg, and I'm going to talk to him about backgammon. And hopefully, Julie and I can have Mr. Jack Schlossberg on one of our podcasts here on the Mayday Network, because he's running for Congress in our congressional district here, New York 12 on the Upper West Side. Let's see if there's anything here. Trying very hard not to cough into the microphone. Let's see what else we got here. Jaclyn just
The crew is in a little break during our flyby coverage for today. They will resume their flyby momentarily in about 30 minutes once they get into their observations during that solar eclipse. Now, the moon is our nearest celestial neighbor, orbiting Earth at less than 250,000 miles on average. When our astronauts venture there for future Artemis missions, they'll target landing sites near the Lunar South Pole. There, ancient rocks, minerals, and trapped water ice will not only provide resources for human explorers, but they may also contain clues to the formation and evolution of our planet and the solar system. Let's learn more about the Lunar South Pole with this video featuring Dr. Kelsey Young, Artemis Science Flight Operations Lead.
We learned a lot from the Apollo samples, but we still have a lot left to learn about the moon. The Apollo missions visited only a pretty narrow swath of the moon. All the missions were concentrated near the near side equator. Really interesting and really critical insights were unlocked with the Apollo samples, but we have so many questions still to answer about the moon and the evolution of the moon.
And liftoff of Artemis I. We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
NASA's Artemis missions are NASA's plan to send people to the surface of the moon. We'll be sending people and roving assets and scientific equipment to, among other things, answer a lot of really compelling science questions. Scientists have a lot to learn about the moon. It's our nearest celestial neighbor here to Earth, so what the moon has experienced, we've experienced, except here on Earth, we have things like plate tectonics, oceans, forests, people that erase the rock record. Whereas on the moon, that whole record of our planet's history, of the moon's history, is just kind of waiting there at the surface for us to explore. The South Pole, which is where...
So I'm going to turn this down for a second because we have a fun little guest joining us. And to anyone in the chat who's asking if I've had mold or anything in my apartment, no, I've been sick for like the last couple of weeks, and this is just the tail end. So I'm like cacking. But we have a fun visitor here. Jaclyn Urso, Lieutenant Colonel Urso, is here visiting. Whoops. How did I do this? I'm trying to. Nope, that's not right either. Hi, Jaclyn. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for doing this. I had tears in my eyes. I was super excited to be watching this and sharing it with you all, and kind of brought me some hope in humanity in watching this and how we are a collective one. So thank you so much, Michelle, for doing this, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. It's funny. We were going to record the next episode of the Illegals Americans Rewatch podcast tonight, but we kind of had some people who could come, some who couldn't. But ultimately, I was like, you know what? I think that we all need to experience the Artemis tonight, and I think we need to watch what's going on, and because this is kind of like a once in a lifetime thing that doesn't really happen. So Jaclyn, I wanted to know like what you were thinking while you were watching all of this happen.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. I mean, I had tears in my eyes. I had to take my glasses off a few times because I was crying as I was watching all of the stories of the astronauts and what truly wonderful, wonderful people they are, how smart, how talented they are. It just gives me so much hope in humanity that, you know, in all the bad things that are happening in the world, we've got this wonderful group of human beings that have come together to put in all their collective efforts and time and resources and education to put, you know, these 4 great people on the moon. It's just, it gives me hope. So I really appreciate the opportunity to watch it with you all. And, you know, there's always going to be a brighter day, a brighter future And I really do believe in that in the United States, and we're here for the fight. And it's going to be a long haul, and it's going to be a struggle, but we're going to win. We're going to capitalize on the opportunities that we have to unite humanity. And here we are tonight, enjoying this wonderful moment together. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you too, because obviously of your military background, and we had some, military folks that are astronauts. And, we're living in a time right now, especially with our military, that almost feels like compromised, with the amount of people that Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump are firing. And, it's very unsettling to think about who was left. But we do have to kind of believe that there are some people that are still left that believe in America and believe in, freedom and democracy and the Constitution and all the things that we hold dear. What does that make you feel like in the interim, between now and whenever that is that we get out of this? Like, what kind of hope do you have for all of us, and what would you say to someone who's thinking about going into the military right now, or maybe wanting to become an astronaut or something one day?
I believe that service to your country is the highest calling that you can fulfill, and I do believe that there's many wonderful leaders within our military and in our government that do believe in the Constitution and the rule of law, and they are just they're fighting tooth and nail every day, trying to sustain that rule of law. And I believe in the United States of America. I love my country. And I do believe that there is too many patriots out there that we can't give up. We've got to keep fighting and believe in them and know that they are there fighting every day that they can to sustain that truth of law and the Constitution and freedom and democracy. And we need to unite as a people to do everything that we can to support them and fight in our own way, in our own capacity. So I've become, more vocal because of the inspiration that Michelle and Julie have given to me in believing in America. And I do believe that there's many of them out there. And it's just a fantastic experience to see this and to see it firsthand here. Here's some, 4 true patriots of the world uniting together. And the whole team down at Houston helping them along the way. You can't forget those that are on the ground that have put in a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and effort in making this happen. And this is years in the making. So as down as people feel, we've got this to look at as an inspiration for the future. If we can do this today, there's no stopping us in what we could do tomorrow.
Yep. And I couldn't agree more. And, there's this great line from the pilot episode of Newsroom, where the main character, Will McAvoy, says in his kind of tirade, he's like, there was a time in America when we put forth, and I'm paraphrasing here, the greatest scientists and the greatest artists. And, I think that there's something like so nostalgic about NASA. And I love that it's NASA tonight and not SpaceX or you know what I mean? Like, cause I feel like there's been so much SpaceX, like phallic rocket going up into the air and crashing and burning and wasting how many bajillion dollars. There is something like just comforting about this being a NASA mission. And like you said, it was years in the making. Like, they didn't just decide to do this last year. I'd actually love to play again while you're here, the Jim Lovell video again, because I really just think if you're just joining us, this is something that Jim Lovell, who just passed away in August, the commander of Apollo 8 and Apollo 13, recorded this at the age of 97 before he passed away, knowing that this mission was going to occur this week.
This is Apollo astronaut Jim Lovell. Welcome to my old neighborhood. When Frank Borman and Bill Andrews and I orbited the moon on Apollo 8, we got humanity's first up-close look at the moon and got a view of the home planet that inspired and united people around the world. I'm proud to pass that torch on to you as you swing around the moon and lay the groundwork for missions to Mars for the benefit of all. It's a historic day, and I know how busy you'll be, but don't forget to enjoy the view. So, Reid and Victor and Christina and Jeremy and all the great teams supporting you, good luck and Godspeed from all of us here on the good earth.
Just amazing. Just
Amazing.
awe-inspiring.
From Jim Lovell, and very cool to hear him welcome us to the neighborhood. It's going to be a great day. Thank you.
Just absolutely
Also,
awe-inspiring.
Reid, yeah, I know it gave me chills. Definitely one of my heroes.
And just for anybody who couldn't make out exactly what it is he said, I wanted to just read this again. I read this before, but I'll go ahead and do it again for anybody who's just joining us. Jim Lovell said in his recording, "Hello, Artemis II. This is Apollo astronaut Jim Lovell. Welcome to my old neighborhood. When Frank Borman, Bill Anders, and I orbited the moon on Apollo 8, we got humanity's first up-close look at the moon and got a view of the home planet that inspired and united people around the world. I'm proud to pass that torch on to you as you swing around the moon and lay the groundwork for missions to Mars for the benefit of all. It's a historic day, and I know how busy you'll be, but don't forget to enjoy the view." So Reid, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, and all the great teams supporting you, good luck and Godspeed from all those here on the good earth. I mean, doesn't get much better than that. And there he is right there. That's Jim Lovell. American hero, patriot, served his country and really inspired generations. Jaclyn, it's we were talking earlier, just people in the chat, about today in the news and how awful today's news was with Donald Trump kind of running his mouth in addition to his horrible tweet that he put out yesterday on Easter. How do you stay hopeful in moments like this?
Doing exactly what we're doing right now, coming together as a community and being awe-inspired by 4 individuals representing humanity, going as far away from Earth as humanly possible at this point. And the amount of time, money, effort, resources, people, planning, smart, talented people involved in getting this off the ground, literally, and timing it right for them to travel around the backside of the moon. I mean, we can't get any better than this, just like you said.
Yeah.
And this inspires me. And to see those 4 people, 3 of them being American, 1 being female, 1 being African American, all uniting and having the American flag on their uniform, on their shoulder, is just amazing. That there is so much greatness in humanity, and we will come together and we will overcome this very dark time in our country. There's only good things that are going to happen because of this. We're going to turn it around, and we are going to fight for our country, and we're going to rebuild our democracy after this regime is over. And representation from all over humanity, and to have Canada a part of this just shows how close we are as human beings and how much we have in common. We have more in common than we do that divides us. So as hard as it was today to watch the news and to hear what the president was saying, this is the turnaround that makes me feel so much better about humanity in the world and what's to come, the good things that are to come for our country.
Yeah, and it's funny today, not to be like too cheeky about this, but I was thinking today about all the anti-science lunatics, especially in the MAGA world, that believe that the Earth is flat. I was like, what do they see? Like, I mean, I want to know how many people are watching this, or maybe they're not watching this, trying to rationalize with themselves that the Earth is still flat. Do you know what I mean? Like, who's looking at this and going, no, flat. I don't know. Like, I'm not a science nerd. I'm not, by any means. I have a theater degree, but like, I just feel like that's one of the fundamental things we all just kind of know, that the Earth is round. And hopefully, this would be more evidence of that, but who knows? I wanted to ask you too, because you're a few years older than me, do you have any memories of the Challenger in 1986? Do you remember that happening, or were you too little?
I was 7, so my memory is a little shoddy.
Yeah.
There were kind of bits and pieces of it, but yeah, I was 7 years old, so I was like, what?
Yeah, it's kind of like maybe you remember it, or maybe you just have memories of people talking about it.
Right.
Yeah, because I was 3.5 at the time. It was January of 1986. And as much as I like to think I have memories of it, I don't, just not possible. MJ is here saying she was 7. She remembers it. Sandy, I saw it live, devastating. And it's hard to not think about that on these days too, because, not every story that comes out of NASA or any of the adventures that we've been on as Americans have ended with a happy story, happy ending. Excuse me. There have been accidents. I believe in our lifetime, there's been 2 deadly accidents, which is, a tragedy. But with those tragedies, we've come closer to being able to do great things like we are today. And it's one of those things too, that despite Donald Trump, we're still like kind of reminded that like this too shall pass. At least we hope it will. And I remember in the weeks after the election, excuse me, speaking to someone in the national security and intelligence space, who was a former CIA person, told me that he had had many conversations with intelligence folks around the world, that they were sort of planning for the United States to be a failed state. This person I knew had spoken to another friend of mine who worked in public health, and I had put him in touch with some other people. And he said, listen, the most important thing is that right now they're going to tear it all down. They're going to try their best to tear it all down. But we have to, in that process, hold on to as much information as we possibly can, retain the talent in some way, shape, or form, people like you, Jaclyn, and be able to rebuild when the time comes, because the time will come. We don't know when, but it will. And I know that you were at the time thinking about going to do, furthering education in the national security space. And I mean, I don't blame you. At the time, you were just kind of like, I can't do this right now. This is way too dark and doom and gloom. What are your feelings about that now? Like, would you tell people, yes, go study that, because your country's going to need you in enough time?
Yeah, so I had a whole plan after I say graduated from the Marine Corps, because I am moving on and doing a secondary career. And I was going to do the national security LLM in our nation's capital. And I wanted to work for a Harris administration and try to take the Foreign Service Officer exam and be a diplomat, so I can continue on and serving my country. And then, the election happens and things don't go the way we all wanted. And I recognize that at this point in time in government, that my service and my views on the rule of law won't really be appreciated. So I need to do something at this point where I can continue to practice law, but not necessarily be involved in it in a way where I have a target on my back and I'm speaking, truth to power about the rule of law and nobody's listening to me. So I decided, to deliberately take a turn and do this LLM in the sports and entertainment law at University of Miami. And it's given me such a different outlook on life and the education and the law. And I'm so happy that I was given the opportunity to be challenged in a different way. And I've learned things about intellectual property and management, labor relations, and contract writing that I never knew about as a federal national security lawyer. And so I think it's given me a lot of good tools, a new tool set for me to come out being a better attorney and a better person. And more importantly, it's given me a lot of perspective on what my real calling is in life and what I really do want to do in my future. And now I'm 100% committed to serving my country again and to following through with what my original love and calling is, which is service to the United States, our Constitution, the rule of law, freedom, and democracy. So it's been a fantastic experience, and I cherish the opportunity that I had, the relationships that I made, the mentorship that I received, and I'm ready to get back into the fight now. And I'm ready to start serving my country again. What I decided to do is I applied to a few colleges in the nation's capital to get that LLM in national security. So I am waiting to hear back from those universities. And I would like to pursue that LLM in national security law. So it's a 1-year program. And then I will figure out at that point, the elections will have happened in 26 and how it is that I'm going to use my skill sets that I have acquired here at the University of Miami and the hopefully new schools that I get into, getting a national security LLM, and how I can give back again to our country and retake our nation and our democracy back. So to be continued, but I'm super excited and I'm fully 100% committed to serving my country again. Our country needs us to continue on the fight because this is not over. There's more of us than there are of them. And I love our country and I love our nation, our Constitution. It's given me so much, and I'm ready and prepared to give back everything that I can in service to our nation. So cross my fingers that I do get into school, and I'll be well prepared to serve the next chapter of my life in our nation's defense somehow.
Well, I have to wonder if you hadn't taken that break, you know what I mean, to travel and then maybe go study something else that was so outside, of your, purview, that it almost helped you gain a new appreciation for what it is that you have done and what you wanted to do. And, a lot of times that kind of leads us back to what we're supposed to do. And, I saw that Heidi had a question here, and I think that it's a good one. Heidi said, Jaclyn, will they stop him if he tries to use nukes? What do you think?
I do believe that there's a lot of good people in our government at high levels. And I think there's been a lot of discussions and conversations already about this. So I believe in the best of humanity. And, I believe that the right decisions will be made and the right people will step up.
Yeah.
There's enough good people in government that we're going to make the right decisions here. It's going to be a struggle. It's definitely going to be a conflict. And I think the chief of staff of the Army may have been fired because of certain objections he had with the president and the Secretary of Defense on this war. So that goes to show you that there's enough people, I think, in government that are going to make the right decision here and step up to the plate.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I certainly was hearing from people that I know in the DMV area who have friends who are National Guard spouses who had heard things from their spouses in the months after the inauguration last year that had shaken them, and it's not something that they could repeat to me, but said that they had heard things that were making them so uncomfortable that they didn't know that they would want to stay in the National Guard any longer. I know that I've heard that from people who are in other branches, people who are retiring maybe before they had wanted to. And that does worry me, in the long term, like who will be left. And I think it was Timothy Snyder, the historian, had written the other day that our military may be compromised now. And that's a really scary thought. But, like you said, we kind of have to remain positive but realistic. And I think that this next week, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this next week is going to be incredibly telling as to what is going to happen and what he's capable of. When you see people like Heather Cox Richardson, another historian, probably more nervous than I've ever heard her speak in this moment, it definitely has sent some chills down my spine. So, and Heidi said, yeah, I want Mark Milley back. Yeah, same. Same. Don't we all? And who was the other one? Mattis, right?
Yeah, General Mattis, Marine Corps general, and also you had General Kelly, who was the chief of staff for Trump the first time around, and Mattis was the Secretary of Defense. So, and they keep publicly speaking out. They're not stopping. The last chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Air Force, four-star general, he was just interviewed in Harvard government school, and he's speaking out. The momentum is building. The momentum is building, and we are going to have to fight tooth and nail to get this country back on track. And post Trump, it's going to be something different than we've had before. It needs to change in a way where government is efficient and works for the people again, where the representatives and our rule of law puts the people first, and there needs to be competency placed back in government and officials and patriots who put the rule of law and the Constitution ahead of their own personal interests. And I believe that there's enough out there right now that are just preparing and trying to figure out what the next step is. And it's going to take a generational challenge for us to rework this system for the American people. But I believe that we can do it, and it's going to take a new generation of leaders as well. So leaders like in our age group, Michelle, that are going to have to step up to the plate and rework this system. We're going to keep the bones. The bones are great. That Constitution was written by our founding fathers with a lot of foresight in mind, knowing that times are going to change. And I believe that we have a living, breathing Constitution. So we're going to have to use that living, breathing Constitution to do the right thing and get government to start working for the people. And that means closing that wealth gap between the highest earners and the lowest earners in the United States. That means, taxing the people that are at the highest echelon of our income scale, so that we can use those taxes to reinvest into our society, into government works, into transportation, into science, technology, education, healthcare. We're going to need for all of this to happen, and it's going to be a long haul, but I believe that we can make it happen. And we've got enough government officials that have stayed in, or government officials that are waiting for us to step back into the spotlight and turn this around for the American people. I do believe that that's going to happen, and I want to be part of it one way or another.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think, with The Fourth Turning is this book that I actually am about to start. It's called The Fourth Turning: What the Cycles of History Tell Us About America's Next Rendezvous with Destiny, or what tells us how and when this crisis will end. It's by Neil Howe. And I actually heard about it on Amy Poehler's podcast, because she was talking about it, and she was like, well, it's going to be the millennials, according to this book. The millennials are going to save the world. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm tired. I don't want to save the world. But, if it's, the greatest generation was called upon 80 plus years ago, and I guess it'll be us next. In the meantime, it is 8:34 p.m. Eastern here on the East Coast. I want to turn up the volume here as Artemis is about to experience, I believe, part of this solar eclipse, and I'd just like to show this here for a couple minutes before we close out for the evening. Jaclyn, let me just turn this up here. I don't know that there's any sound yet, but let's just see what's going on here, and I will shut up here for a second.
You're getting a live look from Orion as the crew observes a solar eclipse from the moon. And this solar eclipse is only visible to the crew on the spacecraft. It's not visible to anybody on Earth. The science team is interested in several different targets for them during this time frame. And we're personally looking forward to getting those images as well. Again, during the beginning portion of this eclipse, the astronauts will need to use eclipse glasses, just like we do from Earth, to safely view it. Once the moon has completely covered the sun, they'll be able to take off those glasses for almost an hour. Totality on Earth during a solar eclipse lasts only a couple of minutes. So this opportunity gives them a chance to look out into deep space and to look into see if there are other planets nearby.
Do we think it's that dot in the middle of the screen?
I think so.
Trying to make it out. It's the dot. Okay. Michelle B is saying it's the dot. It is. Okay. Robert Carr, it looks like the moon's been redacted.
What you're seeing right now is the solar corona. That's the outer atmosphere of the sun. And the science team is very interested in any images that the crew can capture of this. They're hoping that they'll take pictures and describe the visibility, color, and shape of the solar corona as a whole and its substructures, those plumes and streamers.
Science, integrity, in the blind. This is continues to be unreal. The sun has gone behind the moon, and the corona is still visible, and it's bright, and it creates a halo almost around the entire moon. But when you get to the Earth side, the Earth shine is already shown. I mean, almost seconds after the sun set behind the moon. You could see Earth shine. The Earth is so bright out there, and the moon is just hanging in front of us. This black orb out in front of us, in front of now, not the blackness, but the gray that blends and drifts into the blackness. We can see stars and the planets behind it. And Christina is in window 1, Reid is in window 2 with the long lens, and Jeremy is describing it in window 3, and it is quite an impressive sight. You can still see the horizon lit up brighter where the sun set on that side of the moon. It is bright, and Earthshine is very distinct, and it creates quite an impressive visual illusion. Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, you think about how fast we're all going too, right? I mean, that spaceship's going 900 something miles an hour. So it's just amazing.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute because Again, trying not to cough into the microphone. I think about like when you're on an airplane, you're going what, like 350, 400, and then, you feel like you're moving, but to be going double, triple that speed, just kind of hurling through space. And Jen Pollock here in the chat says, we are a speck of dust on a rock, traveling at a very high rate of speed through a vacuum of nothingness while hurling very fast on a rotation. Nothing makes sense. I think about that sometimes. I think about the vast size of the universe and how tiny we are in it. And then there's
You're looking at a live view from the Orion spacecraft on the Artemis II mission. Orion is now 252,125 miles away from us all on Earth. We're here in the Artemis mission control room in Houston, Texas. And what you had just before we lost that view quickly was the corona of the sun peeking around the moon as the astronauts are entering a solar eclipse for this portion of the lunar flyby. We're now over 5,500 statute miles from the moon. That closest approach today was just about 4,067 statute miles away. Teams in the room beginning to get a little busier and filter in and out as we are stepping through a handover. The Orbit 1 team is handing over to Orbit 2, who will continue monitoring lunar flyby and all of the systems aboard the Orion spacecraft.
Just amazing. And the timing of it all, right? The moon is going around the Earth, and they left 5 days ago to go around the moon and make kind of an 8 shape go back while the moon is rotating. Like, just amazing.
Perfect, right?
Yeah.
And it makes you think about, if people haven't seen the film Hidden Figures, which is about the Black women who were part of NASA and were the mathematicians and scientists who helped make the Apollo moon landing possible, even though they did not get the due credit until many, many years later. How brilliant and methodical and meticulous all of that must have been, and how smart. I mean, it's a kind of intelligence that I can't even wrap my head around. My brain just has never worked like that. And to think that these women played such pivotal roles in our space program, and it took so many decades for them to get the recognition. If you haven't seen that film, Hidden Figures, please go watch it. And even better, or maybe not better, but if you haven't seen the ad that I produced at the Seneca Project, American Girl, we feature those women in that ad as well. We wanted to give them their credit where credit is due also. Let's see if there's anything else. Yes, love that movie. Me too. But yeah, I mean, I remember being at the planetarium at the Natural History Museum in New York City. And they had there was an exhibit at one point about the universe, and it was about, it pulls back from Earth into the solar system, into the universe, and you see how many galaxies exist in the universe, and how the thing that makes my head want to explode is what's on the other side of the
Your
universe.
last few views of the solar corona as the moon begins to take center stage and completely cover the sun. If you see that bright dot up near the top left of your screen, we think right now that may be a part of the spacecraft, but we'll be sure to correct that if we end up figuring out later that it is something else entirely.
What a historical moment. And we're all watching it together. This is amazing. I'm so inspired right now.
Me too. And MJ, to answer your question, yes, we did win a Webby for American Girl. I'm so proud of that. It was such a really awesome thing.
It's been an absolute honor to join you here today for the lunar flyby of Artemis II, the first time humans have flown by the moon in over 50 years. I'm Leah Cheshire Mustachio, and I'm excited now to hand over the
shifting around in the windows,
and we are transferring settings on a camera to pick up Earthshine, and it is amazing. The brightness where the sunset is still bright. I think there may still be corona visible, but that part of the horizon is still lit brighter, and you still have a distinct Earthshine.
But yeah, like I think about the universe, Jaclyn, and like how big it is, and especially with the James Webb Telescope, right? Which is showing us basically the birth of the universe and like things that are so far away from us that we can't even comprehend really. Like what's on the other side? Like it makes my brain explode. Like, what's it all for? Why are we here? What's going on?
Just
Who made
amazing.
it?
It's just amazing. I think you go back and you look at the history of it all, and it's like we are just one speck in this huge galaxy, and just the combination of all
our rules that we don't talk when the crew is talking. So wanted to give Victor Glover a moment there to call down what he was seeing now that the moon is covering the sun. A really amazing time during today's Lunar Flyby. Again, thank you so much for letting us help tell this story today. I am Leah Cheshire Mustachio, handing it over to my friend Anna Schneider at the PAO console as the Orbit 2 team comes to join us. So thank you so much, and I hope you all enjoy tonight. Anna, you can take it away.
Thank you so much, Leah, and it's been a joy listening to your coverage over the last several hours. So as you mentioned, the Orbit 2 team of flight controllers is currently making their way on console and completing a shift handover with the Orbit 1 team of flight controllers. The Orbit 2 team tonight will be led by Flight Director Diane Daly, and she is currently handing over with the Orbit 1 Flight Director there on your screen, who was Flight Director Jeff Radigan.
It's so important to make sure that you've got the right support on the ground.
With
With
the crew currently on board the Orion spacecraft, it continues to observe the eclipse that they are witnessing. There's about 43 minutes remaining in that eclipse period.
Having the well-rested support staff down at Houston is so important to make sure that everything is functioning well. And it's important to have that hot wash turnover for the last set and now the new set. When I was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, we've always had a joint operations center, and there's people there that never get outside the wire but are constantly working in support of those that are, and we wouldn't have been able to been successful in our missions but for having that reach back to the Joint Operations Center and working through any issues that we had, being notified of anything that's happening on the ground, in our area, and communicating with them. And they were also communicating with our joint allies and coalition forces. So I know firsthand how important it is to have a Joint Operations Center that is fully rested, well-informed, intelligent, fully invested.
Control. You are currently seeing a live view of the solar array wing cameras on the Orion spacecraft. We spoke with our science team, and they did determine that that dot in the distance is Venus.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Very cool. It's a team effort, and this is history in the making, and it definitely is awe-inspiring, this historical moment. And there's so much good things that human beings we could do together. Just reminds me of how important it is for us to stay positive in what's going on in the world right now and what's going on in our country. We're going to overcome this bleak period, and we're going to come out better on the backside. And it's going to take a whole generation of us to work through this. And we all need to pick up a shovel and dig, as the Marine Corps says. Pick up a shovel and dig, whatever you can do to fight back. Find it in you, in the pit of your stomach, and use your talents, your energy, your enthusiasm for the love of our country and democracy to turn this around and make our country and the world a better place.
Amen, Jaclyn. Amen. Heidi here says Neil deGrasse Tyson really helps to dumb down astrophysics for me, so I can understand. Brilliant mathematical minds really blow me away. Same. He has a great way of kind of explaining things in such a kind of human, just normal English way to kind of make you be able to conceptualize things and visualize them. It's really appreciated.
Let's see, not a huge change in here, just an update. The camera settings for Earthshine are challenging. This one's challenging to capture. What we're seeing, we're just not picking up on the cameras. And after all of the amazing sights that we saw earlier, we just went sci-fi. This has, it just looks unreal. You can see the surface of the moon between, I guess, the Earthshine. I guess Earthshine. You can actually see a majority of the moon. It is the strangest looking thing that you can see so much on the surface.
Awesome.
I know. Lindley Lou 72 says, I can't wait to see the actual images. I wish we could see them now. Same. I kind of wondered how much we'd be able to see with the signal and everything tonight, but I can only imagine the photographs and videos.
Control. You were just hearing some communications called down from NASA astronaut Victor Glover, currently on board the Orion spacecraft. They are currently observing an eclipse. There's about 39 minutes remaining in that eclipse period. Currently, we are in a forward link LOS, or loss of signal, so the crew can communicate down with...
He's seen 2 meteors, science.
So at about 9:20, the flyby observing period is going to end. That's 9:20 Eastern. And the crew is going to begin sending some of the imagery.
We are in a forward link loss of signal. We do expect to regain signal in about 3 minutes. And at that point, then the ground can communicate back up to the crew on board the Orion spacecraft. In the meantime, the crew can continue to communicate down to the ground. The ground is just unable to respond. So they are continuing to provide some science observations during this eclipse period. They've made some comments about Earthshine, which is the sunlight reflected from Earth when they come around towards the moon's near side late in this flyby window.
It's going to be amazing when they land safely and we're able to do the interviews and talk through their experiences and kind of see the pictures and get the real time, what were they thinking? What were they feeling? Type of thing. It's going to be amazing.
Totally. It's there's the documentary about Apollo 11. They do like a live, footage of the landing, and then also the what's the word? I'm trying to think. Like their blood pressure, like all that stuff. You can like see it on screen. Like Neil Armstrong's like blood pressure, literally as they're about to land, the module and everything, and it's like. It's the resting heart rate of like an Olympic athlete. Like you can't even imagine. And it's truly, if you haven't seen it, I think it's on Netflix. I'm not sure, but go watch it because it's so amazing to see like these people just under the greatest pressure a human being could possibly be under. And they're just cool as a cucumber. And tonight, while they're witnessing this eclipse that they can only see, that we can't see here on Earth, I am reminded of, when was it? 1.5 years ago now, of this solar eclipse that we could see in the United States. And I felt very fortunate that quite literally, the path of the eclipse passed over my parents' backyard.
Amazing.
Of all the places in the world, I couldn't believe it. We were very lucky to be there. Got to see the entire thing in its entirety, and it was just. I understand now why people chase solar eclipses around the world. Like it was almost like, and I'm not a religious person by any means, but I felt like for a couple moments I saw God, because you just feel so small, and all of a sudden, like it starts to get a little bit dark and it starts to get cold, and you hear the birds start to go crazy. because all of a sudden they're like rushing to go like lay down in the trees or nests or whatever. And then it went pitch dark, and you took off your eclipse glasses and you could just see it. And I remember you could hear cheering. And my parents live in rural area. You could hear cheering from all over the area because people were just screaming, like couldn't believe what you were seeing. And then just within, 5 minutes, it was all over. But it's an incredible thing to witness. And if you are ever anywhere in the world where there is a solar eclipse, do whatever you can to go to see a complete eclipse, because it's amazing. And having grown up in rural America without any light pollution or anything around too, and like just being able to look up at the sky every night and see all the stars, unobstructed, is something I took for granted at the time, because living in New York City now, it's like you really can't, it's hard to see things. Out on Long Island, could you see the stars well when you were growing up? Do you remember?
Way out east.
Yeah.
Out in the Hamptons and the North Fork, when you're 100 miles away from New York City and you don't have the light pollution, it's a lot better.
Right.
I remember that day that they had the lunar eclipse, and I was in Southern California in the high desert, and so we were out of the path. But me and my Marines, we stepped out to see, maybe we could see just a part of it, a quarter of it. And I was a bit jealous of you and Jill. And I remember FaceTiming you guys saying, what is it like up there? What is it like? Such a cool experience.
Yeah. And it was one of those things too, where you really have to resist the urge to like get your phone out. Because it's not something you want to watch through a screen. It's something you want to just put your phone down. You want to put all your devices down, your camera, everything, and just take it in, because it's really a once in a lifetime thing. I think I looked at the next one that's happening. It's like in Spain or something. And it's like, for it to happen in the United States again, I mean, I don't know when it's going to be, but it's certainly not anytime soon. BJG just said, this is funny. I thought the chat on the screen was NASA's chat. No, it's the Mayday chat. It's just us. It's just us, my friends. Let's see. I remember sleeping on the side of the mountains in Flagstaff, saw shooting stars, bands of the Milky Way. I mean, incredible.
Science, integrity, and the blind. The glow around the moon is beginning to become a little bit more even. It's not so much distinct just where the sun set on the moon's horizon. Is where flying through this trajectory, and then the sun's going to come up out of the other side. I think it's we're starting to see the glow around the moon get balanced out. I still see Earth shine, and the Earth is very bright out there. Still quite an unreal sight.
Integrity Houston, we have that sit rep loud and clear, and we are back with you. How do you hear me?
Hey, Jenny, we have you loud and clear. Thanks.
They're thousands of miles.
I know.
Copy. Victor, we're handing you over to science for some critical questions. Thanks for your report.
Over 200,000 miles away.
And it's literally like within 5 seconds.
Integrity Science. We were loving your science sit reps in the blind, and it should come as no surprise that we have a number of follow-up questions. First, you mentioned Reid observing meteors. Can you speak to that? Or are you referring to comets or impact flashes or something else?
Yeah, there was a little bit of giddiness. We have seen 3 impact flashes so far. I saw 2, and Jeremy has seen 1. Undoubtedly, Jeremy saw 2, so that's 4 total. Undoubtedly, quick impact flashes. It was not sun glint off of particulate from the thrusters or the purge tanks. It was definitely impact flashes on the moon. And Jeremy just saw another one. Go ahead with your next question.
Amazing news. I literally just looked over at the SIR and they were jumping up and down literally. If you could describe where on the moon you saw them, please.
they've all been either on or a bit south of the equator and on the Earth side of the moon. Stand by. All right, so Jeremy has seen them kind of on and south of the equator, kind of spread across the moon, and mine were both south of the equator and just a little bit left of center of the moon.
Incredible news, Reid, and reminder, we have citizen scientists here on Earth looking for impact flashes, so hearing you saw them on the near side means that people saw them too.
I'm seeing people in the chat talking about having wanted to go to space camp as a kid, and I just wanted to go so badly. And it was like totally one of those things that like rich kids did. I was like, that's for rich kids. I want to go.
And this just opens up a whole world of opportunities for us to continue this mission.
This is Artemis Mission Control. We have regained that signal, so the team here in Mission Control was able to call back up to the crew on board the Orion spacecraft as they continue their lunar flyby. Specifically, they are now in that eclipse period. So the science team here in Mission Control was able to ask some questions about some of the situational reports they were providing during that loss of signal. Specifically, they were interested in some of the meteors that they mentioned seeing and those impact flashes, and they did provide confirmation that they did see at least 4 impact flashes during that lost signal.
Are you still with us, Houston, or do we lose you?
Integrity, I hear you loud and clear. How do you hear me?
Okay, we got you loud and clear. One of the other things I wanted to describe, which was surprising to me, but the entire moon is lit up. It's glowing behind the entire moon. I thought it would look, dark against the black sky or deep space, but the sun is lighting up the entire limb of the moon. You can see the entire perimeter of it, and even now with the sun far behind the moon, you can still make little bits of topography around the entire limb, just bumps as you go around it. And there's about the glow around the moon, once your eyes adjust, is easily 10 widths or diameters of the sun around the entire moon.
Incredible to hear, Jeremy. Were you able to actually pick out any discrete features on the lunar surface? And if so, how do they look different than when you observe them in solar illumination?
No, we really haven't been able to identify features on the lunar surface yet. We just see, the topography on the limb. For the Earth glow, we're about a quarter moon, waxing quarter moon, if you will, from the Earth glow perspective, and it's just at a very, just the sight angle. I'm just not able to tell what I'm looking at yet in the Earth glow.
Understood. Thanks, Jeremy. One other question for you on the solar corona. Were you actually able to see any structure or color in the corona before most of it disappeared behind the moon?
Yeah, I didn't pick out any color, but definitely structure. There were streamers, and they were not uniform at all. For me, the 5 o'clock position, there was just this constant streamer. It would change in intensity and diameter, but it was always there, and it was always at the 5 o'clock position. I only saw one plume, and it came out of basically the 3 o'clock position of the sun. That was very short-lived when I could see the plume.
Exactly what we were looking for. Thanks, Jeremy. And a heads up that we, calculated here on the ground about how long you could see the corona for, and we expect it to start to appear again in the next 11 minutes. Thanks for those amazing descriptions.
Excited to see it all again.
Integrity Houston, we're following along as well. That was outstanding. If you haven't already, just reminding you to swap positions at the windows. And that brief LOS we had previously was due to a data rate change expected.
Okay, we copy that, Jenny.
I'm all giddy. This is like the best in humanity right here, coming all together.
Yeah. Mary said in the chat, makes me wonder what people who didn't understand space thought when they experienced eclipses. It's funny because we talked about that after having
Integrity
experienced the solar
Science,
eclipse.
one more request for you. While it's still fresh in your mind, any annotations or sketches you want to make of what you're seeing either around the corona structures you just mentioned or even on Earthshine would be so appreciated.
Okay, Kelsey, it's going to be pretty hard to go looking at PCD right now, but we'll definitely try and annotate what we saw.
And if the annotations come in the next block where you're cleaning up your documentation, that sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah, back at people who didn't know what they were seeing. We were talking about that after the solar eclipse. We were like, can you imagine not having any idea what the hell is
On the
happening?
bottom right
All of a
corner
sudden
of your
the
screen, you can
the
see a
lights
view of
go
the
out.
Science Officer console here in Mission Control. And we've been hearing that communication between the science officer. The Orbit 1 science officer is Kelsey Young, and she's been asking questions to the crew, specifically CSA astronaut Jeremy Hansen, based on the observations they've been making during this eclipse period. And then in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, you can see a view of the Artemis real-time orbit website, which provides updates on the velocity and the distance from Earth and the Moon of the Orion spacecraft as it continues to make its way back to Earth. The distance from the Moon will continue to increase at this point. So right now, Orion and its crew are about 6,300 miles away from the Moon and about 251,000 miles away from the Earth.
And they're traveling at 956 miles an hour.
Amazing.
Crazy.
This is history in the making.
Totally.
And this is just the next stepping stone for the, for the next exploration that we're going to do. We're going to learn so much from this for us to then go back to the moon.
Yeah, they're talking about that. Hopefully, the next mission, or I don't know if it's the next one or the one after that, they want to actually land and do more research, more studying in general, which is amazing.
This is also an example of, our government doing good in the world. And functioning.
It's a soft power.
Absolutely.
In addition to, actually contributing to humanity. What other countries really haven't been able to do what we have done with NASA and our space program.
I do believe in a government is there to help and protect the people. And this is just one example of how our government and our tax-paying dollars and the investments that we've made, the people in our country, how talented we are, that we're able to do something like this and transmit it almost instantly back to Earth so we can all watch it. It's just amazing.
Incredible. That's why it's I wanted to show that clip earlier of Walter Cronkite watching Neil Armstrong land on the moon and just how completely speechless he was in the moment. Here's a man who has all the words for everything. in a moment, just without words at all. It's pretty amazing. I can't imagine having been alive then and watching it in real time. And to Not in My Name, we love you. Thank you, Mayday Network and all the Mayday Marvels. You made this even more special than it is on its merits. You are marvels, and same to you. Right back at you. That's why I really wanted to. I hadn't really planned on doing this tonight, but I was like, you know what? It's kind of too important. I think that we all kind of have to come together and experience this without,
Set up for sunrise. The window teams are Christina is supporting, and also Xena in window 1. Jeremy's got the long lens in window 2, and the short lens in window 2. And Reid is in window 3, and he has started recordings and is set up to see Corona.
Great sit rep, Victor. That sounds like a good config, and we're showing coronal effects start to appear on your video camera. So in the next few minutes, we should start to hear your observations.
Okay. So I think in what we're seeing here on the screen, just went blue here for a second. I think there's like I did kind of see it on the other side of it. I couldn't tell exactly what it was, but it makes more sense to me now. Like you start to see the light sort of peek out from the side of like the circle.
This mission control. We just heard the crew call down to the team here in Houston, reporting that they have swapped out who is in the windows for the final portion of the Lunar Flyby. So Christina Koch is in window 1, with Jeremy Hansen in window 2 and Reid in window 3. Reid is focusing on observing corona, which is the solar corona, which is the sun's outermost atmosphere. There is about 18 minutes remaining in the eclipse period.
Science in Houston integrity. I know this observation won't be of any scientific value, but I'm really glad we launched on April 1st because humans probably have not evolved to see what we're seeing. It is truly hard to describe. It is amazing.
Cool.
I had tears in my eyes.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
I can't wait to see what they've been able to capture, truly. And I think some of that will start to come through this evening, but we'll probably wake up to it tomorrow.
And just one more logistics note, we have gone as dark as we can in the cabin. We have turned the DUs all the way as dim as they can go, so you can't see anything on the screens. Every bit of light in the cabin affects the view. You're definitely seeing the brightness go closer. It's definitely brighter on the Earthshine side, and so we're expecting to see some corona here soon.
We copy all. Excited for what you see next.
And if you're cool, Jaclyn, I'm going to hang out, I think, till they start to see the corona, and then we can hop off. But I would like to see the light start to pop through. I think that'd be cool.
We talked much about the star field, but we've got lots of stars. You've got the nice glow around the moon, but right off the we're upside down now, but from upside down 4 o'clock, right off the edge of the moon, looks like a planet. That line of planets. There's something a moon diameter to the left, and something right on the limb of the moon to the right, and then something orange. It looks orange to the right of that, about half the moon diameter. So, but anyway, there are definitely stars. I think some of those planets that you said we might see, we're seeing. And so, in unreal view, yeah, the moon in the foreground is one of the darkest things we see out the window, and now it's deep space behind it is kind of dark blue like it looks from Earth, but we can also still see stars. It's quite a wicked view.
Victor Science.
Just doing the best job, and I'm not going to try to add on to what he's doing. It's indescribable. No matter how long we look at this, our brains are not processing this image in front of us. It is absolutely spectacular, surreal. There's no adjectives. I'm going to need to invent some new ones to describe what we are looking at out this window.
This is just absolutely beautiful and inspiring to hear. And Victor, we suspect what you're seeing is Saturn and Mars. That reddish object is likely Mars. Good opportunity to look to the future of where we're going.
Mary P123 says,
we
this
can
is a man.
absolutely see the color of Mars. That's awesome.
So this is a man trained in scientific reporting, and he's having a hard time explaining it. Imagine what it actually looks like.
Couldn't have said it better, Mary.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we're starting to see like a little bit of that glimmer in the middle of the screen. There's like some red or orange. I don't know if you see that. Well, now it's gone, but.
Okay, and from this vantage point, the 4 o'clock on the Earthshine side is definitely getting brighter. Still no coronal structure.
Houston copies.
The meticulous planning that was necessary, and it had to go like perfect.
Yeah.
For this to work out the way it has.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. The amount of time, effort.
We aren't able to distinguish which Mare is, but we can clearly see Mare in the Earthshine.
We copy.
This is Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas.
We have not seen an impact flash in the last 5 minutes.
Sounds unlucky, but you had a pretty strong start, so we'll take it.
And actually, right after I said that, right at the South Pole, near the South Pole on the Terminator, Reid just saw one.
Amazing.
And for anybody in the chat who's wondering, the chat, I saw.
Integrity Science, and as you look around our solar system neighborhood, you should see Saturn setting behind the moon right now.
Cool.
We do. We've been watching it track close to the horizon, and it's right tangential to the moon at this moment.
I've seen lots of
Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas. We are currently 5 days, 2 hours, and 44 minutes into the Artemis II mission, and we have about 11 minutes remaining in the eclipse as at the latter half of the lunar flyby that the Artemis II crew is experiencing on board the Orion spacecraft. We've received several different call downs from the crew and questions up from the science officer here in Mission Control. One of the things that they said that they were able to see is Mars off in the distance, and then the science team also confirmed that they should be seeing Saturn setting behind the moon. They've also acknowledged seeing several different impact flashes, and these are flashes of lights from meteorites striking the surface of the moon. They've also mentioned the solar corona, which is the sun's outermost atmosphere. Here in Mission Control Houston, the Orbit 1 and Orbit 2 teams have officially completed their handover. So the Orbit 2 team is now leading here in Mission Control, and that is being led by Flight Director Diane Daly, and the Capcom here in Mission Control will be Tess Caswell.
I love seeing
And
how
you can
many
see
women
there
are
on your
there.
screen on the right-hand
Awesome.
side is the Flight Director console, and Diane Daly is in the far right of that screen, and Tess Caswell, the Capcom or capsule communicator, is in the far left hand of that screen.
Oh, here we go.
Wow,
Starting
I see it. See
yeah,
it?
yeah, starting to see that light peek out from behind. That's amazing.
Yeah, the light is continuing to grow in intensity. At about the 4 o'clock position on the, about the 8 o'clock position on the Earth-shine side. Saturn has set. Mars is tracking towards the moon's horizon.
Integrity Science, we copy, and we're starting to see it on the vehicle stream. Looking forward to any coronal observations you can share with us.
Wow.
It's getting brighter. Amazing. I'm glad we stayed on.
Yes.
This is Artemis Mission Control. That view you're seeing on your screen is coming from the solar array wing cameras outside of the Orion spacecraft. And you can see the light starting to come into view as the solar eclipse period is starting to end.
Integrity, still no coronal structure at this time, just continuing to grow in intensity.
Copy, Victor, and reminder, you still should have several minutes before the eclipse classes need to go on, and we can send you up a reminder when you're getting close to take your eyes away from the D5 viewfinder, but you should be good for several more minutes.
Do you remember there was another solar eclipse that was like during Trump's first administration?
Thank you, and yes, please send up the reminder. Thank you.
He stared directly into the sun. There's like a picture of him doing it. An idiot.
I keep thinking about that when he was at some world leaders summit.
Oh, right.
He didn't know how to do this to shake everybody's hand.
God, he's so stupid. He's so stupid.
Okay, we all think we're starting to see something. I believe the most popular term is baby hair. As the light grows in intensity and the horizon on this side becomes very distinct, you can still see Earth shine, even though the sun's brightness is definitely growing in intensity.
Love the description, Victor. I'm sure as the next couple minutes progress, more of those structures will continue to pop out.
We've come so far. I mean, when did the Wright brothers take flight? It was like early 1900s, right?
Yeah, I think so. North Carolina, right?
Yeah. Now here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing how far we've come in such a short period of time.
And the safety of it too, you know what I mean? I think about like just even, and put the current administration aside, but how safe even just air travel has evolved in the last couple of decades, into now, like you were saying, to be able to
This is
plan.
Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas. The Artemis II astronauts on board the Orion spacecraft are currently observing an eclipse. And to the crew on board the spacecraft, the eclipse looks much like a total solar eclipse here on Earth, except the moon is much larger compared to the sun. Unlike a terrestrial solar eclipse where the moon and the sun appear the same size in the sky.
We are definitely starting to see structure. That baby hair is rapidly growing out toward the 9 o'clock and the 8 o'clock. It's almost as if it were reaching out for Venus or for the Earth.
Thanks for that fact there, and to think that.
If you've ever seen the spotlight off the top of the Luxor at night in Las Vegas, this looks like what that wants to be when it grows up.
Integrity Science, glad to hear you're following your training of tell it like you see it.
Exactly. 64 years later, we landed on the moon, and now here we are again, going.
So far, it's pretty symmetrical. There are 2 or 3 streamers that are growing in intensity and in magnitude, and it's slowly starting to widen, starting to spread out across the horizon. Pretty amazing view.
I'm curious also like what cameras they use, if they are using just regular sort of SLR long,
And Integrity Houston, great words. Reminder for you, we are approaching the brightness level at which you should no longer be using the viewfinder on the D5.
Integrity copies, and thanks for the heads up.
So my mother's grandparents said that we would never go into space.
Control.
And I think we're seeing some directionality. Some of it is going in different directions because it appears to be moving and combining and recombining as it moves. It's pointing in different directions, and some of it appears to be going like down toward the south pole of the moon, but it's and then coming back together and going out towards Venus and the Earth. And depending on how I stare at it, it looks like one large structure, but then it definitely has width. You can see 3 or 4 structures inside of it. It's like watching a flame. It's like looking at a flame and stand by. And so it has some inherent movement. Now there's a very bright spot. There's a very bright
you can
spot.
see it.
In the center of it, there's a towering light of.
Wow. Oh. Wow. Okay.
Towering light, and then there were like 2 streamers that were going 30 degrees out from it, and now it is just extremely bright.
Amazing.
Wow.
Houston, copies all.
Get a little warm.
And we copied all. We wanted to remind you at this point on the eclipse glasses. Should be about time for those.
Yeah, you can see sort of, it's very faint from what we can see. A curve.
We were in eclipse glasses. That was an absolutely spectacular, magnificent experience.
Thanks for the report. We sure wish we were there with you.
It's hard to know exactly what we're looking at, you know? There's like two circles. Hopefully they'll come on and tell us what we're looking at.
This is Artemis Mission Control. The eclipse period is coming to an end, and we did hear that call up that the crew now has to put on those eclipse glasses to be able to protect their eyes for this final portion of the eclipse. And these views coming to you from the solar array wing cameras on the Orion spacecraft.
Houston, if you could give me about 20 new superlatives in the mission summary for tomorrow, that'll help my vocabulary out a bit. Thank you.
We will solicit input from the team.
Oh, that's a visualization. That's not real, but still, that's like gives us an idea of what they're looking at. Looks like the Death Star. Wow. Amazing. You can see in the control room in Houston, they've got the big screen up in front of them that it looks like they're kind of looking at the same thing, just kind of a big...
This is Artemis Mission Control. There on your screen, you can see a live look inside of the SIR, or the Science Evaluation Room, here in Mission Control Houston, just down the hallway from the Artemis Flight Control Room.
Integrity Houston, back with you after a data rate change. Regarding the SAW-3 camera T low caution, no action for you. It just got a little cool during the eclipse.
Okay, we copy, and if you didn't copy my request for the mission summary to add about 20 new superlatives to help my vocabulary, I would appreciate it.
We copied it fantastically.
And Integrity Science, this is basically wrapping up your fly-by-day observations. I can't say enough how much science we've already learned and how much inspiration you've provided to our entire team, the lunar science community, and the entire world with what you were able to bring today. You really brought the moon closer for us today, and we cannot say thank you enough. And Science signing off, and can't wait to talk to you tomorrow morning.
To your entire team, Kelsey, to the entire NASA science team, you all really turned to when we shifted launch dates to April 1st, and you got the most incredible package together for us to go do some great science and some great, truly human experience moments here. And we were well prepared, and we appreciate all of you. And this is what we do best when we all come together and work as a team. So you all knocked it out of the park. Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Beautiful words, Reid. Thanks so much.
Amazing.
So inspired right now.
And this is Artemis Mission Control. The Lunar Flyby observation period is starting to come to a close following that eclipse. And there on your screen, you can see a look into the Science Evaluation Room, or the SIR, which is embedded within Mission Control to provide science input. And they provided that input throughout the live flyby operations today. They also have a back room called the Science Mission Operations Room that processes data, evaluates imagery, and supports rapid analysis. And then, of course, we have the science officer on console here in the Artemis Flight Control Room, which you can see a view there on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. The science officer throughout the flyby operations today has been Kelsey Young, who is the Artemis Science Flight Operations Lead. And then to her left is Angela Garcia, who will be the Science Officer taking over for Orbit 2.
Well, Jaclyn, I will remind people, as everyone's saying in the chat, how gobsmacked they all sound, which they obviously are, to remind people of the overview effect, which is defined as a profound cognitive shift reported by astronauts
And
viewing Earth from space.
Past 7 hours or so, the crew has been going through their Lunar Flyby observation period. And now they will wrap up that period and complete some final tasks and begin downlinking some of the amazing imagery that they've captured throughout the day, as well as some of the observations that they've recorded. And now on your screen, you're seeing a live look from the Orion spacecraft from those solar array wing cameras. The solar eclipse period ended just a few minutes ago, and during this eclipse, towards the end of the flyby window, it lasted about an hour, and it was when the sun was hidden from view behind the opposite side of the moon from the perspective of the Orion spacecraft and its crew. And during that time, the crew saw a mostly dark moon, and they used the opportunity to analyze the solar corona, which is the sun's outermost atmosphere, while it was visible. And then once the sun was completely out of view behind the moon, the crew looked for impact flashes, which they reported seeing multiple impact flashes, and those are flashes of light from meteoroids striking the surface of the moon. They also looked for dust lofting above the limb or the edge of the moon, along with some deep space targets, including planets, and they noticed Mars off to the distance, and we also saw Venus on one of the solar array wing cameras early on in the eclipse period. The crew also looked at parts of the moon illuminated by Earthshine, which is the sunlight reflected from the Earth when they come around toward the moon's near side at the very end of that flyby window.
So I'm just going to mute that and just finish just reading here. The overview effect, which is something I just learned about today. Just to go back, it says a profound cognitive shift reported by astronauts viewing Earth from space, characterized by an awe-inspiring sense of interconnectedness, planetary fragility, and the artificiality of human borders. Overview effect was coined by author Frank White in 1987, and this experience often shifts perspectives toward environmental stewardship and global unity. The astronauts frequently experience an intense emotional reaction, including feelings of awe, euphoria, and a deeper connection to humanity. And observers often report that seeing Earth without national boundaries makes political, racial, and economic conflicts seem trivial or artificial. And the atmosphere is perceived as an incredibly thin, fragile, and delicate blue marble protecting life, enhancing the urgency for environmental protection, and a feeling that all life on Earth is interconnected and that the planet is a single living organisms. Astronauts often return to Earth with a renewed sense of responsibility, viewing themselves as stewards or crew members of Earth. So Jaclyn, thank you so much for being here tonight. This was super fun. Any final words before we go off and watch basketball?
What an amazing experience. We're watching history firsthand. Thank you very much for letting me be part of this moment and kind of express my gratitude to, humanity and humankind, the amount of effort and talent, planning that had to go in, and the unification of humanity together to accomplish something like this gives me hope and inspires me for what's to come in the future. And I'm so happy to be part of it. So thank you very much for having me.
I'm glad you texted me, because otherwise I wouldn't have known you were watching. And I said, hey, come on, jump on with us tonight. And I just want to thank everyone who joined us tonight and chose the Mayday Network to be with while you were watching this historic event tonight. If you're not already, please subscribe to the Mayday Network, not just because I hope you do in general, but also so that you know when we do more things like this, you'll get a notification that we're going to go live, or that we're going to have new content or something, some event like this. We'll certainly be live at some point tomorrow, because I know there's going to be a lot of news a lot of news coming, unfortunately, in the next couple of days with what's going on in Iran and with this president who is completely unhinged and off his rocker. So Jaclyn, thank you again. To everyone else, thank you. Thank you to our moderators and to our Mayday family. And of course, Heidi, she says, thank you so much for the shared wonder of experience and community. Absolutely. And to MJ, yes, you are very welcome and thank you. And because you know what, you guys are the reason we do this, truly. So with that said, everyone, we're going to go watch Michigan play basketball for the next hour, have some dinner, take care of yourselves, stay hydrated, get some sleep, and we'll see everyone soon. Thanks again, Jaclyn.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.